Hello, everybody, and welcome to another one of these Fotospeed videos. Myself, Sam Gregory, and Tim Jones from Fotospeed. Hi, Tim. How are you today?
Yeah, not too bad. Good. Yeah, we're getting there, shall we say?
We're getting there. We don't know where we're going, but we're getting there.
Yeah, precisely.
Well, today we're going to talk about two things. It's not going to be a long video per se, but we're going to talk about the winners of the recent FSMonthly competition, which was for March, which had an urban theme. And we're also going to talk about April's FSMonthly competition, which is monochrome or black and white. And I'm going to share some images, and Tim and I are going to talk a little bit about black and white imagery and why we've chosen that as a theme, and so on from there. So those are the two things we're going to cover today. And if you don't know already, FSMonthly's competition runs on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, just using the hashtag FSMonthly, which we've got up here on the screen. And every month we pick out 3 winners to get a print. And we're going to feature them, and Tim can mention a bit more about what they win. But we're going to feature them in this video today. And we're going to have a quick chat about why we've chosen these 3 on that theme. And then, like I say, we'll get into the black and white and some inspiration for you, and hopefully some just thoughts around black and white. So, Tim,
yes.
Shall we share the first one? And actually, even before we get into it in much detail, it's funny because we kind of picked out the same. Usually we pick a couple each and then we sort of debate the winners, but we kind of picked out the same winners here.
Yeah, we did actually. Yeah, we normally, I do my pick, you do yours, and hopefully they'll match. And actually this week they did for the first time ever, I think, wasn't it?
Cool.
So yeah, which is great, and it worked how it was supposed to work. So that's brilliant. Yeah, and then we have a bit of debate, don't we? But none today. We just went straight in, so it's great. So.
Well, I think as we just get ready to share this first one, but thank you for everyone who shared an image, by the way. There were loads across all the platforms, so we really appreciate that. And I think hopefully for everyone following the hashtag, it's interesting to see other people's work and all the rest of it. And the usual caveat here up the top, it's horrible picking quote unquote a winner, because it's not about better or worse. It's just 3 images that maybe leapt out to me and Tim that I think really hit the brief of urban, and obviously that work as images and whatever else it is that we all think about when we choose an image that just feels stronger, quote unquote. But Tim, let's pop the first one up, shall we? And
let's get the first one up. Yes. So I should say that, like you said at the start, each winner gets a free print printed by myself, which I'll send, and I'll message everyone kind of to get the high res version of the files and things, so we can get lovely prints done. But they also win a £50 voucher to spend on Fotospeed papers, which I'll send across a voucher code and everything for you. Okay, cool. But without further ado, let's let me just add that. There we go. So the first one we have is this amazing black and white. To be honest, we were both struck by this, weren't we? And the shadows and details and the light in it as well. And this is from William Dorr.
Yes, well done, William. Cracker, a really, really great image. And yes, it could have crept into the black and white one, but urban was the theme, and I think obviously for a lot of us that will vary depending on our location and what we think about urban. It doesn't have to be skyscrapers. It could be a small village or a local town somewhere. But I think you mentioned, Tim, the light, is very dynamic. But I think actually for me, it's the angle as well that really arrests your vision, the angle at which it's been placed. And that line is quite striking. And those sorts of diagonal lines generally help bring a viewer into the image. They give some direction. And I think had this just been upright, it would still have been an interesting image, but I don't know whether it would have leapt off the screen at me like this one did when I was pouring through a load. I don't know how you feel about that, Tim.
Yeah, no, it catches you off guard a little bit, doesn't it? It's a little bit, goes back to that uncanny feeling, I think. It's just off a little bit. It just makes it a bit more interesting as well. That little tuft of cloud as well.
Yes, that soft versus the hard is a really nice contrast as well. It just cushions that top end. So an intriguing image, I think. Nicely done in black and white, and urban. It does shout urban to me. You could be in London right now, which is maybe where this was, I don't know, or it could even kind of be maybe New York or somewhere like that, 50, 60 years ago. So it's got a slight kind of timeless vibe. Probably black and white helps that. So well done, William. And Tim will be in touch and get the high res off you for the print.
Lovely.
Who have we got next, Tim?
There we are. So we got Amar. Amar Snud. So Amar's quite a bit of a I want to say a regular, shall we say, in our competitions and things, and always produces great work. But I think this just stood out for us as well. I think this was a really great picture.
I think whenever silhouettes are interesting things to work with photographically, how we interpret them, it helps distinguish. We know from the shape straight away that it's a person. We understand that visually, in our minds, obviously. And when it's silhouetted against such a sort of bold color, and you've got the shadow of the doorway next to it, which kind of works in tandem, and the top shadow at the top and the bottom, I just find that strength of those contrasts for me was what made this really interesting. And like you said, Tim, it did kind of just leap out as being a strong, strongly composed image, especially.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Especially those black, like you said, those black lines top and bottom. It's almost cinematic in that kind of sense. You've kind of got those lines of it. Although it's a square image, it does say that, doesn't it? That cinematic kind of quality to it, and the yellow as well. It's just lovely.
Pops, doesn't it? Yeah, and yellow versus black. You've got that bumblebee thing going on. That always works. So a good spot, and obviously Amar's waited for the right moment there, and then highlighted those bits in the processing of it, which is done kind of tastefully. So nice work, Amar. And again, Tim will be in touch for your print and your voucher. So happy days, isn't it? I should start entering. Who's our final one, Tim? Because this one's a little different.
From Shaun Mills. So this is a little bit different. Like we said, it reminds us of an Andreas Gursky print, doesn't it? With the lines and the kind of almost, I want to say symmetry, but I don't think it is symmetry, is it? That's the wrong word. But
no, it kind of is. I mean, you've got that central line of doors down the middle, which does kind of act as the anchor for the symmetry left and right. But it's that repetitive pattern, isn't it? And patterns can be really strong in photography. And I think we're dealing with these things as aesthetic pieces, which they are obviously, but the urban theme, this does tell a story of
definitely
urbanity, if you will, or, living in an urban area. I'm sure many of us have walked past places like this, or maybe lived in places like this. And I think it makes a great subject for an image. But I'll be honest, I've seen these done not as that aren't quite strong, let's say. And I think this is done really nicely because of the symmetry that you mentioned, Tim, but the palette as well, I think is quite interesting. The colors kind of muted and against that concrete across the panels there, obviously, as well. So it just screams kind of parts of London to me. Again, it may not be in London, but big cities have these sorts of images, don't they?
It's the reflections as well on the right-hand side. Well, actually, on the left as well, just noticing, and the solitary figure at the bottom and things. Yeah, it just works really well. It's great.
Yeah, actually, nice point about the chap sat in the middle. I don't know if everyone can see that's quite small on the screen there, but there is a chap sat on the second bottom door, just dead center. So that works. So Shaun, nice work there, my friend. And again, Tim will be in touch to get the print for you. So maybe actually now's not quite the time, Tim. We could get into this another time, but I'd be interested to know which papers you pick for these potentially, and why, from a Fotospeed point of view, especially the black and white.
Yeah, I think probably for the black and white, again, I don't know, it's kind of the brighter, isn't it, really, is the thing I would firstly kind of look at. Maybe I might pick something else. I'm not sure at the minute. We've got that very deep black down the bottom, which would just lend itself to the brighter and things. Perhaps a gloss art fibre, but between the two, I think, to be honest. Cool. I think so.
Well, I think that's an interesting point, because when we print these, or when Tim does them, obviously he's doing them on huge printers and with all the right gear. But I think the choice of paper is interesting because, the colours pop and all the blacks pop on the black and white. So that does get some thought. They don't just print it on the first paper to hand, which is quite a cool thing.
I think Shaun's picture here, I think, would actually, because it's a little bit muted. I was looking at the doors, really, and the pink here and the red down here. It might work really well on a matte paper. So perhaps like the natural soft textured or something like that would look really nice, actually, and it would kind of add it to them. And Amar's, you're kind of spoilt for choice on here in a way. It would work great on bright white matte paper, but it would also work really well on the Legacy or something like that that would really make the color pop. So
The Legacy gloss, yeah.
Yeah, the Legacy gloss. Yeah.
That's what
so
I think.
Yeah, because it's quite a warm paper anyway, so it would really bring that yellow up and it would really make it pop. Again, I'm torn, really. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. You'll
find out when you get the print.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
right.
Cool. Well, that's kind of part one. Part two, we just wanted to spend just a few minutes. We're not going to go into details on particular images, but I just said to Tim, well, let's talk a little bit about the monochrome and the black and white. And whilst we're chatting, Tim can just flick through a few of these. And these are just mine that I shared because I am a big black and white fan, monochrome fan, whatever you want to say. And I know, Tim, you like, and lots of people, love working in monochrome, but I think it's interesting that it does affect your approach when you're out in the field. And I think one of the things I wanted to talk about just briefly, well, if we just spend 3 or 4 minutes on this, is sometimes people ask, how do you know when something's going to work in black and white? That's a slightly difficult question. And I'm only talking about how I might see things and mainly outdoor photography, which is more obviously what I do. But I think the answer now is there are things I generally know will work to do with contrast and patterns and shape. But these days, if you're using a mirrorless camera, and even sometimes on the DSLRs, but especially with the mirrorless, you can just pop it into your settings on the mirrorless and you can see it through the viewfinder in a square or whatever your aspect ratio might be. And you can tell straight away if it's something you think you want to explore in black and white. Most of the black and white modes on the mirrorless cameras are great. Obviously, they're only dealing with the JPEG in front of you, but it lets you see straight away whether you think it's going to work. And I personally find, just from a practical point of view, if I'm thinking about that in the field, it helps me with the image making to finesse that while I'm in the field, because then I can start understanding how big the contrast is, how dark the dark areas are, how white or bright the highlight areas are. So images like this, where you're dealing with quite a lot of highlights, I think work really nicely in black and white, where there's kind of two tones here, isn't there, really, Tim? There's the darker and there's the lighter, and there's nothing in between. So for me, that works really well.
Yeah, I think I kind of work in the same kind of way. A lot of my work now is actually shot on a little Ricoh GRX camera. And I have to say, the JPEG conversion and the processing is absolutely beautiful. But it really helps, I find, to shoot both. I shoot RAW and JPEG, and I use the JPEG as almost a reference to what I was thinking. So you can see it on the back of the camera, because you've got quite a lot of control now on these cameras. You can change contrasts and things like that to your liking. And you can have a play with the light, and it's nice and easy, especially with mirrorless, isn't it? Because you can frame it on the back of the camera if you want to, or in the viewfinder, and have a look, and you can see it, and it gives you that look. I think that's how I started to work, I think, and it's quite nice. I think it's a nice way of working. Otherwise, I would always have the screen off and never look at the screen as well. So
I think as well, these days with phones, isn't it? People working a lot on mobile phones, and I'm doing more on mobile phone than I used to now. And they've got great little editing tools straight in them, or you can see them in black and white before you shoot, if you've got an iPhone or even the Galaxies or whatever. So I think, I suppose why I'm saying this is for the point of view of next month, or this month, FSMonthly, we're doing the monochrome and the black and whites. Just it's a thought process of going out and putting your black and white hat on and thinking about that while you're out, as opposed to it being something you not necessarily salvage, but you bring to an edit. That can happen sometimes, but I think it's better if you're thinking black and white from the outset, and you'll start to then see in black and white. And actually, an interesting thing is, even when I'm working in color, I will flick to black and white in the live view, sometimes just so I can understand the tonal contrasts which are in the scene in front of me, especially in woodland, when you're dealing with greens and browns. It kind of just doesn't look like there's a huge amount of contrast going on sometimes, or where the darkest parts of the image might be. And I think if even, like I say, if you're working in color, if you flick to black and white just for a moment to preview it, you'll soon find, oh, actually this bottom right is really quite dark, or this bit is really quite light. So I use the black and white preview even to help my color photography. And so hopefully that might be a little thing that you could do as well. So I think just as we kind of flick through some of these towards the end for a couple of minutes, I think black and white, as we know, can be used in a wide variety of situations, can't it, Tim? And obviously I'm sharing mostly landscape stuff here, but I think if you have subdued moments like this is actually in Italy in the Dolomites, a famous place, but often seen in a very colorful, bright, kind of sunsetty, sunrise sorts of images. I think if you do get subtle moments like this, black and white is a great way to deal with it. And also, if you do get more dramatic shadow lights, middle of the day, big strong shadows, then black and white can also be really dynamic, because you can use those shadows as a shape, as an element compositionally within the frame. So don't look at just the building or the rock or the whatever. Look at the shapes that might be within the scene and think about whether you can bring that recession, like we've got in this particular image, from back to front, because the degradation maybe, tonally, that's going on there as well. So I'm really excited by this black and white one, and Tim and I have got a few videos that are going to come this month, to do with black and white, to do with editing black and white in different platforms. We're going to have a couple of interviews with photographers who primarily work in black and white, aren't we, Tim?
Yeah.
And we're really going to kind of talk a lot about monochrome, and we would encourage you, if you've got any questions to do with printing black and white, especially, pop them in the comments box here, or get hold of us on social media, and we'll see if we can help with that, because we know that I hear, especially anecdotally, a lot of people struggle a bit with black and white. And we've done previous videos, haven't we, Tim, actually, to do with comparing
I think so.
Canon on the black and white and print
file
prep.
And it's if you use a profile, or do you use the printer's black and white mode and things like this. Both work really well, and both do a great job. I think it depends on your printer as well. But I have found that the black and white modes are fantastic now on these printers, and do a really, really good job, annoyingly, because I like to catch the manufacturers out. But yeah, it says, it does what it says on the tin, shall we say.
Yeah.
It's a good, they produce brilliant. And it's one less thing to think about. If you can just put it on Printer Manager's colors, tick a box that says black and white, and you get perfect prints out, I'm all for that.
Just a query on that, Tim, actually, because I have a slight theory on this, but you will probably know whether I'm right or wrong on this. I agree with you that actually I think the black and white print mode generally does the best job. However, my question is it using more of the ink to do that versus using a custom profile? And this would be an interesting thing for us to find out if we don't know.
Yeah,
because my theory is it uses more because it just slaps more on, essentially. But I could be completely wrong, so don't quote me on that.
I'd have to have a look. I haven't actually looked, to be honest. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna have a look. I'm gonna do because I can measure it on the Canon here. I can go into the print job, and it'll tell me how much ink it's used in total. Okay. So I'm interested now. I want to just go over and do it, but
just to prove me wrong.
I don't know. Yeah, it might.
No. Well, we'll find out, and
we'll find
maybe
out.
We'll do something about that as well. I don't want to put you on the spot, Tim, but I think that might be a neat thing to see if that theory's right. But anyway, I think we've probably chatted enough, and hopefully you found some inspiration in some of the images that we've shared there. But I'm really excited because I see loads of great monochrome and black and white work out there, and I think that we'll get a really mixed bag in a good way of things for us to look at. It doesn't have to be landscape. It can be urban, it could be portrait, it could be still life, it could be anything you want. We just want great monochrome images, great black and white images, and we will be absolutely open-minded to that. I'm not genre specific in the choices at all. So hit us up on Facebook, on Instagram, or on Twitter with hashtag FSMonthly, and please stay subscribed, or get subscribed if you're not already, to the YouTube channel, where we're releasing videos, every Thursday. A video comes out to do with printing, to do with paper, to do with products, or to do with photography, and interviews with photographers that Tim and I host here on the channel. So as it stands, we'll say thank you very much. Tim, anything else to add, or have I hit everything hopefully there?
No, I think you've hit everything. Yeah, I think I can't wait to see these entries, and I'll keep my eye out on all the social media for them all coming in.
And we've got till the end of April. That's right, just give or take a couple of days.
Yes, end of April. I think we'll probably do a video announcing the winners like we just did, probably first week in May, something like that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well,
cool.
There'll be big announcements for all that anyway and things.
Yeah.
So we'll put that in.
Get your print and get your £50 voucher. But thank you for watching. And Tim and/or I, and/or both of us, will see you again here on the YouTube channel very soon. Thank you very much. Cheerio for now.
Lovely. See you, everyone. Bye.